Hi, and welcome. I am so glad you are here with me tonight. Before we begin our journey, I want you to take a moment to find your most comfortable position. Adjust your pillow, pull the covers up to your chin, and let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Take a deep, slow breath in, and let it out with a soft sigh. The room around you is dark and safe. The world outside is quiet. Tonight, we will travel back in time, far beyond the reach of modern cities, beyond the noise of the present day, to a land of vast silences and golden light. We are going to the land of ancient Persia, but not the Persia of great kings or golden palaces. We are going further back, to a time before empires were born, when the land was a wild, breathing thing, and the people lived in harmony with the rising sun and the turning stars. Imagine yourself standing on a high, rocky ridge, overlooking a world that seems to stretch on forever. This is the Iranian Plateau, a cradle of stone, earth, and wind. The air here is thin and crisp. It tastes of dry earth and the faint, sweet scent of mountain herbs. As the sun begins to dip below the horizon, the entire landscape is bathed in a soft, honey-colored glow. The mountains in the distance, the great Zagros, and the towering Alborz, turn shades of violet and deep indigo. There is no rush here. Time doesn't move in minutes or hours. It moves in the slow shadows that stretch across the valley floor. The plateau is a high world, held up toward the sky by the strength of the mountains. In this ancient time, the silence is so profound that you can hear the heartbeat of the earth. It is not an empty silence, but a full wana silence made of the rustle of dry grass, the distant trickling of a hidden spring, and the long, slow exhale of the wind. As you stand there, you feel the vastness of the space. To the east, the great salt deserts shimmer like a sea of silver under the emerging moon. To the west, the mountains stand like silent guardians, their peaks still holding the last remnants of snow from a long-forgotten winter. In this world, there are no roads, only the narrow paths worn into the soil by the feet of many generations and the hooves of their animals. Imagine walking slowly down from the ridge. Each step is soft on the earth. The ground is a mosaic of pebbles and dust, scattered with hardy shrubs that have learned to survive on very little water. These plants, wild rue, bitter almond, and mountain sage, release their perfume as the evening dew begins to settle. It is a grounding scent, earthy and ancient. The wind is your constant companion here. In the high places, it is a cool, steady pressure against your skin. It whispers through the rock formations, creating low, humming notes that sound like a distant choir. This wind has traveled across thousands of miles of open plains, carrying the stories of the dust and the clouds. It tells you that there is nowhere else you need to be. You are exactly where you belong, held in the lap of the ancient world. In the distance, you see a small smudge of dust rising from the valley floor. It moves slowly, almost imperceptibly. This is a group of nomadic herders, moving their animals to the lower pastures as the weather begins to turn. There is a deep, rhythmic beauty to their movement. Listen closely, and you can hear the faint, musical clinking of bells. These are the bells tied to the necks of the leading goats and sheep. Clink chime. Clink. The sound is irregular, but steady. A gentle heartbeat that guides the flock through the twilight. The animals move with a collective intelligence, their hooves creating a soft, rhythmic thudding on the dry earth. Thump, thump, thump. It is the sound of life in its simplest form. The people walking with the animals do not hurry. They have walked these paths for centuries. They know every fold in the hills, every hidden hollow where the grass stays green a little longer. They walk with a long, swinging gait, their heavy woolen cloaks trailing slightly in the dust. They are at peace with the distance. They know that the journey is the destination. Among them are the children, riding on the backs of sturdy, small horses or walking beside their elders. They look up at the sky, watching the first stars appear. There is no fear of the dark here, For the dark is a blanket that brings rest. The darkness is a friend that signals the end of the day's labor. As the blue of twilight deepens into the velvet black of night, the travelers begin to slow. They have reached a familiar clearing near a cluster of ancient terebinth trees. Here, the earth is flat and sheltered from the wind. Watch as they prepare the camp. There is no shouting, only the quiet murmurs of a family who knows their roles by heart. Someone gathers dry branches and brush. Someone else lays out the heavy, hand-woven rugs, the ancestors of the famous Persian carpets made of thick, undyed wool in shades of cream, brown, and charcoal. Then comes the fire. In ancient Persia, even before the formal teachings of the prophets, fire was seen as a living thing, a piece of the sun brought down to earth. A small spark is nurtured in a bed of dry grass. It catches, glowing a soft orange, and then grows into a steady, dancing flame. The fire provides a circle of safety. Within its light, the world is warm and known. Outside its light, the mountains fade into mystery. You sit down on one of the thick rugs. The wool is coarse but soft, smelling of the sheep and the sun. You feel the warmth of the fire on your face. While your back remains cool in the evening air, the flames dance in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. They lick the air, turning from bright yellow to deep red to a shimmering blue at the base. The wood pops and crackles, softly snap, hiss, releasing the scent of resin and ancient earth. This is the oldest television in the world, the original storyteller. You find your eyes growing heavy as you watch the embers pulse like a slow, glowing heart. In this high, dry land, water is more than a resource. It is a miracle. It is the blood of the earth. As you rest by the fire, you hear the nearby sound of a spring bubbling up from between two large moss-covered stones. It is a liquid sound, gurgle, splash, drip. In the silence of the night, it sounds like music. The people of this land treat the water with immense reverence. They believe that every spring is guarded by an unseen spirit, a lady of the waters who ensures the flow remains pure. Imagine leaning over the spring. The water is ice cold, coming from deep within the mountain's heart. You cup your hands and take a drink. It is the purest thing you have ever tasted. It flows down your throat, cooling your body from the inside out, connecting you to the hidden rivers that run beneath the plateau. These early people were the masters of water. Even now, they are beginning to understand how to guide the mountain streams, how to dig the first qanats, the underground tunnels that will one day turn the deserts into gardens. But for now, it is just a simple spring, a gift from the rock, silver in the moonlight. Look up, away from the lights of any city. The sky of ancient Persia is a revelation. It is not black, but a deep, shimmering violet blue, so crowded with stars that it feels like you could reach up and touch them. The Milky Way stretches across the dome of the sky, like a river of spilled milk or a path of celestial dust. Each star is a steady, piercing light. In this stillness, the stars don't just twinkle, they pulse. The early Persians were watchers of the sky. They saw the stars as a great army of light, holding back the forces of darkness. They named the constellations after the creatures of their world, the lion, the bull, the great bird. To them, the sky was a map of their beliefs. As you lie back on the rug, the vastness of the universe doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels protective. You are a small, cherished part of this immense design. The stars have been there for millions of years, and they will be there for millions more, watching over the plateau with their silent, silver eyes. The air grows colder now, but you are wrapped in layers of wool and the lingering warmth of the fire. The sound of the wind has died down to a faint sigh. The world is settling into its deepest sleep. Everything in this landscape knows how to rest. The mountains, which have stood for eons, rest in their stony silence. The rivers rest in their deep channels. The animals have all bedded down, their heads resting on their paws or tucked against their flanks. You can hear the slow rhythmic breathing of the horses nearby. It is a deep, resonant sound, whoosh, whoosh, a sign of total trust and peace. The people in the camp are also asleep, their forms huddled together under heavy blankets. In this time, there are no clocks to tick away the seconds. There is only the slow movement of the moon as it climbs higher into the sky, casting long, pale shadows across the valley. The moon is a silver coin, a night sun that turns the dust to frost and the rocks to charcoal. Imagine your thoughts becoming as slow as the moon's progress. One by one, the worries of the modern world fade away. They belong to a different time, a different place. Here, in the heart of ancient Persia, there is only the earth, the fire, and the stars. You feel a sense of profound safety. The land is old and wise. It has seen countless generations come and go, and it has held them all with the same impartial kindness. You are being held now. The earth beneath you is solid and unmoving. It supports you completely. As you drift closer to sleep, you imagine the wind rising again, just a tiny bit. It carries the scent of the distant sea, far to the south, and the scent of the high cedars, far to the north. It is a cool, refreshing breath that clears your mind. Imagine a man standing on a high balcony of stone, looking out over the plains of Persepolis. This is Cyrus, in the stories of the old world. Leaders are often described with thunder and lightning, but imagine Cyrus instead as a shepherd who has grown to care for a much larger flock. He does not look out with a desire to possess, but with a quiet, steady gaze of responsibility. The air around him is silent, save for the soft flapping of a linen canopy in the breeze. He watches the horizon, where the dust of the earth meets the blue of the sky. To him, the borders of lands are not walls, but seams where different cultures can be woven together, like the threads of a vast, intricate carpet. He dreams of a peace that is as wide as the plateau itself. In this time, the rise of an empire feels like the slow growth of an ancient oak tree. It doesn't happen with a shout. It happens with the quiet strengthening of roots. People from the distant mountains of the Medes, the lush valleys of Babylon, and the sun-drenched coasts of Ionia are beginning to look toward each other. They are realizing that the wind that blows across one land eventually touches the next. Close your eyes and walk with me through the rising city of Persepolis. It is not a city of crowded streets and stone walls. Instead, it is a city of gardens. The Persians call these paradisa, the root of our word for paradise. The ground beneath your feet is a mixture of soft grass and fine crushed limestone. As you walk, you hear the constant, rhythmic sound of water. The Persians have perfected the art of the garden stream. Small stone-lined channels, no wider than a handspan, crisscross the landscape. The water flows through them with a gentle, glass-like clarity, spilling over small lips of stone into quiet pools. The gardens are filled with fruit trees, pomegranates with their heavy, leather-skinned fruit, and almonds with their delicate, pale blossoms that drift down like summer snow. There are roses here, too. Their scent thick and sweet in the evening air. In the center of the garden stands a simple, elegant pavilion. Its columns are tall and slender, carved from dark stone, and topped with the heads of bulls and lions, resting peacefully. There are no gates here. The palace is open to the wind and the light. It is a place designed for conversation, for the slow exchange of ideas, and for the quiet contemplation of the stars. Beyond the gardens, a miracle is taking shape. It is the royal road. Imagine a ribbon of beaten earth and stone, stretching for thousands of miles across the face of the earth. It begins at the edges of the Mediterranean and winds its way through mountains, across rivers, and into the heart of the empire. Standing on this road, you feel the pulse of a connected world. It is a quiet pulse. You hear the rhythmic clip-clop of a lone messenger's horse. These messengers travel like the wind, changing horses at small, tidy way stations every few miles. They carry news, yes, but they also carry the feeling of safety. Because of this road, A traveler can walk from one end of the known world to the other, carrying nothing but a walking stick and a peaceful heart. The road brings the smells of distant lands to the plateau. A caravan moves slowly in the distance, a long line of camels and donkeys swaying with the rhythm of the earth. They carry spices from the east, cinnamon, cloves, and cardamom whose scents linger in the air long after the caravan has passed. They carry blue lapis lazuli from the high mountains and white linen from the river valleys, as the sun sets. The travelers on the road pull over to the side. They light small fires and share bread. A merchant from Lydia speaks in low tones with a farmer from Susa. They do not speak the same language, but they understand the shared language of the road, the warmth of the fire, the taste of the water, and the safety of the night. In the heart of the empire, a scribe is working by the light of an oil lamp. He is pressing a reed stylus into a cylinder of soft, wet clay. This is not a list of taxes or a declaration of war. It is the voice of Cyrus, carved in stone for all of time. It speaks of a new way of living. It says that every person is free to believe what they wish. It says that the gods of one people are as sacred as the gods of another. It says that those who were taken from their homes may return, and those who were broken may be mended. The scribe's hand moves slowly, with great care. Each wedge-shaped mark is a promise. Tack, tack. The sound of the stylus is the only noise in the room. This clay cylinder, once baked in the sun, will become a foundation for the world. It is a quiet revolutionary idea that an empire is held together not by a fist, but by an open hand. Imagine the relief felt by the people as these words are read in the marketplaces. A weight they have carried for generations. The weight of fear begins to lift. The air feels lighter. The light feels brighter. The people go back to their homes, to their looms, and to their fields, knowing that their way of life is respected as the years turn into decades. A new city begins to rise from a massive stone terrace at the foot of the Mountain of Mercy. This is Persepolis. Imagine the scale of this place. It is a forest of stone. The columns rise 70 feet into the air, carved with such precision that they look like they were grown rather than built. But even here, in this grandest of places, the feeling is one of calm. The great staircase is wide and shallow. It was built this way so that dignitaries and visitors could walk up it slowly, with dignity, without ever losing their breath. As you ascend, you see the carvings on the walls. They do not show scenes of battle. Instead, they show a long, peaceful procession of people. There are Medes in their round caps, Babylonians in their long robes, and Ethiopians with their gifts of ivory. They are all walking together, some holding hands, some with a gentle hand on the shoulder of the person in front of them. They are bringing the best of their land's vessels of gold, fine fabrics, sturdy bull's knot, as tribute to a tyrant, but as a contribution to a shared civilization. The stone of Persepolis is a warm, creamy gray. In the moonlight, it glows with an inner light. The shadows of the columns stretch across the vast halls like the fingers of a giant, reaching out to touch the mountains. The wind whistles softly through the high rafters, a sound like a flute played at a great distance. In the shadow of the great palaces, the artisans are at work. Their world is one of minute detail and endless patience. Think of the goldsmith. He sits in a small, cool room, a single beam of sunlight illuminating his workbench. He is crafting a rite in a drinking vessel in the shape of a winged griffin. He uses a tiny hammer to tap the gold into shape. Tink, tink, tink. He works with the rhythm of his own breathing. He is not in a hurry. He knows that beauty takes time, and in the Achaemenid world, there is plenty of time. Think of the weaver. She sits at a large upright loom, her fingers moving like spiders across the warp and weft. She is weaving a rug that will last for hundreds of years. The wool has been dyed with the roots of plants, and the skins of fruits madar for red, indigo for blue, pomegranate for yellow. Each knot she ties is a moment of stillness. The thwack of the comb tightening the threads is a heartbeat. These objects, the gold, the fabric, the stone, are the physical form of the empire's peace. They are made by hands that are not shaking with fear, but are steady with the pride of their craft. As night falls over the Achaemenid world, a profound sense of security settles over the land. From the Indus River to the Nile, the fires are lit once again. In the village, the elder sits by the door and tells stories of the old days, when the world was fragmented and small. The children listen, their eyes wide, before they drift off to sleep. They do not know a world without the great king's peace. To them, the empire is as natural as the mountains. The soldiers of the empire, the immortals, stand guard at the gates, but they do not look like the soldiers of your imagination. Their uniforms are vibrant silks of yellow, blue, and purple. They carry spears tipped with silver pomegranates. They stand as still as the statues around them, their eyes fixed on the horizon, ensuring that the silence of the night remains unbroken. High above, the stars continue their dance. The astronomers in the temple towers mark their progress. They see the harmony of the spheres reflecting the harmony of the earth below. The planets move in their predictable paths, just as the laws of the king provide a predictable path for the people. Imagine the breath of the empire. It is the collective breath of millions of people, sleeping in safety, in the cedar forests of Lebanon. The trees sway in the night wind. In the wheat fields of Egypt, the stalks bow their heads to the moon. In the mountain passes of the Hindu Kush, the snow falls silently on the silent stone. All of these places, so different and so far apart, are held together by a single thought, that we are better when we are together. You, too, are part of this peace. The weight of the world's history is not a burden, it is a foundation. You are resting on the accumulated stillness of 25 centuries. The same moon that shone on Cyrus's gardens is shining on you now. The same wind that carried the scent of Persian roses is the wind that cools your room. We begin at the base of the great terrace. In the pre-dawn light, the massive limestone blocks of the retaining wall look like part of the mountain itself, solid, eternal, and cool to the touch. The air is perfectly still, carrying the faint, crisp scent of the high desert and the lingering coolness of the night stars. Before us lies the great staircase. Unlike the steep, narrow steps of a fortress, these stairs are wide and shallow. They were designed for dignity, for the slow and graceful ascent of people in long, flowing robes. As we begin to walk up, notice how your feet fall silently on the smooth, cream-colored stone. Each step is only 4 inches high. It is an invitation to move slowly, to breathe deeply, and to leave the world of the plains behind. With every step, the horizon widens. To our left, the vast marve-dashed plain is still shrouded in a soft, silver mist. To our right, the dark silhouette of the mountain of Mercy Ramet stands as a silent guardian. The silence here is thick and comforting, like a heavy woolen blanket. There is no rush. There is only the rhythm of the ascent, one step, and then another, a slow, steady climb into the realm of the kings. At the top of the stairs, we find ourselves standing before a structure of immense power and peace, the gate of all nations. In the twilight, the 2 great stone bulls that guard the entrance seem almost alive. Their wings are carved with such precision that you can imagine the softness of the feathers, though they are made of the hardest stone. They stand in eternal silence, their faces turned toward the west, watching for the first light of day. We walk between them, our footsteps echoing softly in the high stone passageway. This gate was built to welcome the world. Here, people from every corner of the earth once stood, not as subjects, but as guests. The wind whispers through the high portal, a low humming sound that seems to carry the echoes of 1,000 languages. But now, it is just the wind and the stone. We pause here, in the shadow of the great bulls, feeling the immense weight of the lintels above us. The stone is cold, drawing the last of the day's heat from our palms, grounding us in the reality of the past. Leaving the gate, we move toward the great hall of the Achaemenid. Even in the dim light, the scale of this place is breathtaking. Once, 72 columns rose here, reaching 70 feet toward the sky. Only a few remain standing today, like lonely sentinels in the desert. As we walk into the center of the hall, the sky above us begins to turn from deep indigo to a pale, translucent violet. The columns are fluted, their long vertical lines drawing the eye upward. At the very top, far above our heads, are the double-headed bulls and lions that once supported the massive cedar beams of the roof. Imagine the ceiling as it once was dark. Fragrant wood brought from the forests of Lebanon, inlaid with gold and lapis lazuli. But now, the ceiling is the sky itself. As we stand in this forest of stone, the first ray of sunlight touches the very tip of the highest column. It glows like a spark of fire, a single point of golden light in the purple dawn. The light begins to crawl down the stone, revealing the texture of the carving. We walk slowly through the shadows, watching the interplay of light and dark. The silence in the Apadana is not empty. It is a full, resonant silence, the kind you find in the heart of an ancient forest. It invites you to let go of your thoughts, to simply be a part of the stone and the light. We descend a small set of steps toward the eastern staircase of the Apadana. This is where the history of the empire is written in stone, but it is a history of peace. On the walls of the staircase, hundreds of figures are carved in low relief. As the sun rises higher, the light hits the carvings at an angle, making them leap into life. We see the Medes in their round hats and the Persians in their fluted tiaras. They are walking in a long, slow line, just as we are. Look closely at their hands. They are not carrying weapons. Some carry lotus flowers, the petals carved with delicate care. Others hold the hand of the person in front of them, a gesture of friendship and brotherhood that has remained frozen in stone for 25 centuries. There are groups of people from distant lands, Greeks, Indians, Egyptians, and Scythians, each dressed in the unique clothing of their home. They are bringing gifts, a pair of sturdy bulls, a vessel of fine wine, a folded piece of exquisite fabric. There is a profound sense of order and calm in their movement. They are not hurried. They move with the same slow, rhythmic pace that we have adopted. As we walk beside them, it feels as if we are part of this eternal procession, moving toward a common goal of harmony and light. Whisper a greeting to the stone figures. Their faces are serene, their eyes fixed on a horizon we cannot see. They have witnessed 1,000 sunrises on this terrace, and they will witness 1,000 more. Their presence is a reminder that beauty and peace, once created, never truly leave the world. We move now to the palace of Darius, known as the Tachara. This is one of the most intimate spaces in Persepolis. The stone used here is different from the rest of the city. It is a dark, gray limestone that was polished by the ancient artisans until it shone like a mirror as we walk through the doorways. The morning sun reflects off the walls. Even after all these years, you can see a faint, blurred reflection of yourself in the stone. It is as if the palace is holding on to the memories of everyone who has ever walked through its halls. The rooms are smaller here, more sheltered. The air is slightly warmer, protected from the morning breeze. We find a quiet corner and sit down on a smooth stone ledge. The sunlight pools on the floor, a warm, golden rectangle in the cool shadow of the room. In the silence, you can almost hear the soft rustle of silk and the quiet murmur of voices from long ago. This was a place of rest, a place where the king would come to escape the heat of the day and look out over the gardens. From here, we can see the ruins of the private courtyards, where fountains once played and roses bloomed in the desert air. The Tachara is a place of reflection, both literal and spiritual. It invites you to look inward, to find the quiet, polished spaces within your own mind. Like the stone mirrors of the palace, your thoughts can become clear and still. Reflecting only the light, we continue our walk toward the east, entering the Hall of 100 Columns. This was once the largest room in the world, a vast square filled with a grid of stone pillars. Today, only the bases of the columns remain, creating a rhythmic pattern of stone circles across the floor. Walking through this space feels like walking through a dream. The repetition of the column bases and rows of 10 creates a sense of infinite order. The morning light now fills the hall, casting long, dramatic shadows that stretch across the ground like the fingers of a giant. This was the hall of the soldiers and the guards. But there is no feeling of war here. Instead, there is a feeling of immense strength and stability. The walls are thick, the doorways tall and imposing. The carvings here show the king seated on his throne, supported by the representatives of all the nations of the empire. They hold him up with their hands, a collective effort to maintain the peace of the world. The scale of the hall makes you feel small, but in a way that is comforting. It is the feeling of being a small part of a much larger, much older story. The weight of the history here is not a burden. It is a foundation. You can lean against it, rest your head against the ancient stone, and feel the steady, unmoving pulse of the earth. Beyond the great halls lies the treasury, a complex of smaller rooms and narrow corridors. This was the heart of the empire's wealth, but today, it is the heart of its silence. The walls are high, and the sunlight only reaches the floor for a few hours each day. We walk through the maze of rooms, our shadows dancing on the mud brick walls. Here and there, we see the remains of the huge stone jars that once held oil and wine, and the deep pits where gold and silver were stored. But the real treasure of this place is the stillness, because it is tucked away from the main terrace. The wind doesn't reach here as easily. The air is heavy and still, smelling of sun-baked clay and ancient dust. It is a place for deep, dreamless sleep. Imagine lying down on a bed of soft sand in one of these inner chambers. The walls are thick enough to drown out all the sounds of the world. The light is dim and golden. You are surrounded by the history of 1,000 years, held in a stone embrace that has never been broken. As the sun climbs higher, we decide to make one final climb. Behind the city, a series of winding paths lead up the face of the Mountain of Mercy to the tombs of the later kings. The path is steep but short. As we climb, the entire city of Persepolis unfolds below us like a map made of stone and shadow. From this height, we can see the perfect geometry of the palaces, the long lines of the columns, and the green fringe of the modern plains in the distance. We reach the tomb of Artaxerxes. It is carved directly into the living rock of the mountain, a massive facade in the shape of a cross. The king is shown standing before a fire altar, beneath the winged disk of Ahura Mazda, the god of wisdom and light. We sit on the rocky ledge outside the tomb. The stone is warm now, heated by the morning sun. The view is endless. We can see 4 miles across the plateau, to where the mountains meet the sky in a haze of blue and gold. In the high valleys of the plateau, the day begins not with a sound, but with a change in the light. Long before the sun peaks over the eastern ridges, the world is a soft, dusty blue. This is the hour of the farmer. Imagine a man named Arish stepping out from his small, thick-walled house made of sun-dried brick. The earth beneath his bare feet is cool, holding the chill of the desert night. He doesn't hurry. There is a deep, inherited wisdom in his movements, a realization that the land cannot be rushed. He looks up at the sky, where the last few stars are fading into the morning mist, and he breathes in the scent of wild thyme and cold stone. His work is a conversation with the earth. He walks toward his field, where the green shoots of barley are just beginning to push through the crust. In his hand, he carries a simple wooden plow, smoothed by the palms of his father and his grandfather. Before him, the sound of the morning is the rhythmic hush-hush of the plow through the soil. It is a soft, grounding noise. The earth opens up, revealing a darker, moist interior that smells of life and ancient secrets. Arash follows the furrow, his steps steady and slow. He isn't thinking about the harvest months away. He is simply present with the soil in this moment. The repetition is a form of prayer. Step, lean, turn. Step, lean, turn. As the sun rises higher, the air begins to warm, and the most important sound of the Persian day begins to hum. The sound of the qunat deep beneath the surface of the dry plain. There is a miracle of human patience. For miles, underground tunnels have been carved by hand to bring the melted snow from the distant mountains to the thirsty fields. Arash kneels by the opening of a small stone channel. He hears it before he sees Italo, musical gurgling, a secret laughter coming from the dark heart of the earth. The water emerges, clear and ice. It flows into the irrigation ditches with a soft lap-lap against the mud banks. Arash uses a simple wooden spade to guide the flow, opening one channel and closing another. It is a slow, meditative dance with the element of life. He watches the water soak into the dry ground, turning the dusty gray to a rich, fertile brown. The birds, small, crested larks, descend to drink at the edge of the water. They flutter their wings, sending tiny, silver droplets into the air. Everything in this landscape is built on this balance, the heat of the sun and the coolness of the hidden stream. As you listen to the water, feel that same coolness washing over your own thoughts, clearing away the dust, leaving only a sense of flow and peace, while the men are in the fields. The courtyards of the village are filled with a different kind of music. This is the world of the weavers. Imagine a woman sitting before a tall, upright loom made of sturdy oak. Beside her are baskets of wool-soft, curly fleeces that have been washed in the mountain streams and dyed with the colors of the earth. There is the deep red of the madder root, the vibrant yellow of pomegranate skins, and the rich, dark blue of indigo. Her fingers move with a grace that seems almost magical, but it is actually the grace of long practice. Pass the thread, beat the comb. Pass the thread, beat the comb. Clack, thrum, clack. Thrum. The sound is steady and hypnotic. As she works, she weaves more than just wool. She weaves the story of her life into the pattern. A geometric flower for the spring she was married. A jagged line for the mountains she sees every morning. A deep blue border for the sky that watches over them all. The wool feels lanolin rich and soft against her skin. The smell of the dye is earthy and sweet, like a garden after rain. She doesn't look at a map or a pattern. The design is held in her mind, a gift passed down through the voices of her mother and her aunts. The repetition of the weaving pulls her into a state of deep focus, where the rest of the world fades away, leaving only the tension of the strings and the growing beauty of the carpet. In the shade of a nearby porch, a young man sits with a different kind of tool. He is a scribe, a keeper of words. In front of him is a small mound of wet, gray clay, and a handful of reeds cut from the riverbank. He takes a small lump of clay and rolls it in his palms until it is a smooth, flat tablet about the size of his hand. It is cool and damp. He takes a reed stylus, its tip cut into a sharp wedge, and begins to press marks into the surface. This is the cuneiform script, the oldest way of capturing human thought. He is recording the grain harvest, or perhaps a letter from one brother to another. The sound is almost silent, just the faint tack-tack of the reed meeting the clay. The scribe works with a quiet intensity. He knows that once this clay is dried in the sun, these words will remain long after he is gone. There's a profound sense of order in his work. Each line is straight, each wedge is precise. He is creating harmony out of the mud of the river. The smell of the damp clay is grounding, a reminder that all great things begin with the simple elements of the earth. Beyond the village, the great royal road stretches like a silver ribbon across the plateau. Here, the silence of the landscape is occasionally broken by the steady, rhythmic drumming of hooves. This is the messenger, the link between the far-flung corners of the world. He isn't a warrior. He is a bridge. He rides a small, powerful horse with a thick mane and steady eyes. The rider and the horse move as one, a single shadow flowing across the dust. The messenger's life is one of long, solitary stretches of time. He listens to the wind whistling past his ears and the rhythmic thud-thud of the horse's gait. The landscape changes slowly, from the jagged red rocks of the mountains to the vast, shimmering salt flats, to the green fringes of the river valleys. He stops at a way station, a tidy building of white stone. Here, the silence is greeted by the smell of hay and the sound of a fresh horse whinnying in the stables. He dismounts, his legs heavy from hours in the saddle. He drinks a bowl of cool water, wipes the dust from his face, and mounts a new horse. The transition is seamless. The journey continues. He carries the weight of the Empire's thoughts, but he carries them with a light heart, for he knows the road is safe, and the stars will guide him home. The road is a teacher of patience. It reminds him that every destination is reached one step at a time, one breath at a time. In the afternoon, the village market is a place of quiet, respectful exchange. It is not the loud, frantic market of a modern city. Here, people speak in low, melodic tones. A trader has arrived from the south, his donkeys laden with small linen bags. He opens one, and the air is suddenly filled with the scent of the world, the sharpness of black pepper, the warmth of cinnamon, and the smoky sweetness of frankincense. The villagers come to trade their surplus. A basket of dried figs for a small pouch of salt, a hand-woven shawl for a copper pot. There is no greed here, only a search for balance. They hold the objects in their hands, feeling the weight and the texture. They talk about the weather, the health of the flocks, and the height of the mountain snows. The clink of copper coins is a soft, musical sound. The rustle of grain being poured into a leather bag is like the sound of a distant waterfall. As the sun begins to move toward the west, the market naturally winds down. The traders pack their bags with the same care they used to open them. The square is swept clean. The shadows grow long and blue dot as the sun dips below the horizon. The village returns to the most sacred space of all, the home, inside the thick walls. The air remains cool in the summer and warm in the winter. A fire is lit in the center of the room, a small, controlled flame that casts a golden glow on the plastered walls. The evening meal is a simple affair, but it is prepared with reverence. A flatbread baked on a hot stone is broken and shared. There are bowls of thick yogurt, handfuls of walnuts, and honey that tastes of the wild mountain flowers. They eat slowly, savoring the flavors of the land they have worked all day. There is no light other than the fire, and perhaps a small oil lamp made of green glazed pottery. The light pulses softly, mirroring the heartbeat of the family. The children lie on the thick rugs, their heads resting on woolen cushions, watching the shadows dance on the ceiling. The stories told at night are not about great battles. They are about the clever fox, the wise grandmother, and the stars that never move. The voices are low and soothing, a gentle hum that lulls the spirit into a state of complete safety. The world of ancient Persia is now fully asleep. The farmer's plow is resting in the furrow. The weaver's loom is still, the half-finished carpet, waiting for the morning light. The scribe's tablets are hardening in the cool air. The messenger is asleep in a bed of clean straw at the way station. The silence of the plateau has returned. It is a vast, protective silence that stretches from the mountains to the sea. The stars are bright and steady, watching over the sleeping earth with a timeless kindness. You are part of this cycle of rest. Like the farmer, you have finished your work for the day. Like the weaver, you have laid down your tools. Your mind is like the cool underground water of the Cana, clear, steady, and at peace. Feel the warmth of the imaginary hearth fire on your skin. Feel the weight of the woolen blanket. There is nothing left to do. There is nowhere left to go. You are held in the balance of the ancient world. The seasons will continue to turn. The sun will rise again, and the work will begin anew. But for now, there is only the night. There is only the breath. There is only the deep, restorative dream of the land. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a vast open plain as the sun begins to lose its midday heat. The air is starting to soften, turning from a bright, sharp gold to a mellow, hazy amber. Before you lies the road, not a road of asphalt or noise, but a wide, ancient path of beaten earth, pressed flat by the millions of footsteps that have come before. In the distance, the caravan is preparing to move. You see the shapes of the camel stall, steady and patient. They are being loaded with heavy packs, wrapped in coarse, dark wool. The men move with a quiet efficiency, their voices low and melodic, murmuring words of encouragement to the animals. Hush, steady, rise. The camels stand up with a slow, swaying motion, their long necks curving like the arches of a palace. There is a specific sound to this moment, the creak of leather straps, the soft thud of hooves on the dust, and the first, gentle chime of the lead camel's bell. We begin to walk. We are not riding. We are walking alongside the animals, feeling the earth beneath our feet. The ground is warm, radiating the heat it collected throughout the day, and it feels solid and supportive. With every step, a tiny puff of dust rises and then settles back down, a quiet witness to our progress as the caravan stretches out into a long, rhythmic line. The sound of the bells becomes the heartbeat of our journey. Each camel wears a bell of a slightly different tone. Some are deep and resonant, like the strike of a distant hammer on bronze. Others are light and silvery, like water dripping into a stone basin. Clink toll, chime, clink dot. The sounds don't compete. They weave together into a tapestry of sound that tells you everything is all right. As long as the bells are ringing, the caravan is moving. As long as the bells are ringing, you are not alone. The pace is slower than you might imagine. It is the pace of a heartbeat at rest. We move at the speed of the earth. We are not trying to reach the horizon. We are simply inhabiting the space between here and there. Your legs move without effort, falling into the same cadence as the animals beside you. You look at the camel nearest to you. Its large, dark eyes are calm and lashed with thick hair to protect them from the wind. It breathes with a deep, resonant sigh, a sound of total acceptance. The sun finally dips below the horizon, and for a few moments, the world is bathed in a profound, violet twilight. The mountains in the distance become silhouettes of jagged indigo, and the sky turns a deep, velvety plum. And then, the moon begins to rise. In the high deserts of Persia, the moon is not just a light, it is a presence. It turns the landscape into a world of silver and charcoal. The sand, which was golden and red during the day, now shimmers like a frozen sea. The road becomes a ribbon of light, guiding us forward through the stillness. The temperature drops, but it is a refreshing change. You wrap your heavy woolen cloak tighter around your shoulders. The wool is thick and smells of wood smoke in the sun. It creates a small, private climate of warmth, just for you. As you walk, the cool air brushes against your face, carrying the scent of dry earth and the distant, faint perfume of mountain herbs. In this silver world, everything feels more significant. The sound of the bells seems to carry further. The shadows of the camels stretch out long and thin across the dunes, moving like silent giants. You feel as though you are walking through a dream, where time has no meaning and the only reality is the rhythm of the walk. After hours of walking through the moonlight, a shape begins to form on the horizon. It is a solid, square structure with high walls and a single, massive arched gateway. This is the caravanserai, palace of rest for the traveler. As we draw closer, the sound of the bells changes. They become more frequent as the camels anticipate the end of their trek. We pass through the great archway into a vast, open courtyard. The walls are thick, made of sun-dried brick that has soaked up the silence of the desert for centuries. The courtyard is a world unto itself. Around the perimeter are small, arched alcoves where travelers can spread their rugs. In the center, there is a large, square pool of water. its surface as still as a mirror, reflecting the stars above. The camels are led to the stables, where the heavy packs are finally removed. You can hear the long, collective exhale of the animals as they are brushed down and given water. The sound of them drinking, a rhythmic lapping sound, is incredibly soothing. You find a quiet alcove for yourself. You lay out a thick Persian rug, its patterns of vines and flowers feeling soft beneath your hands. You sit down, and for a moment, the world continues to sway slightly, as if you are still walking. It is a gentle, rocking sensation that makes your limbs feel heavy and relaxed. In the center of the courtyard, a small fire has been built. It is not a roaring blaze, but a steady, glowing heap of cedar branches and dried brush. A group of travelers sits around it, their faces illuminated by the soft orange light. They are not talking much. There is a shared understanding among those who travel the long roads, a respect for the silence of the night. Occasionally, someone will murmur a word of greeting, or the sound of a small flute will drift through the air, playing a melody that is thousands of years old. You watch the sparks rise from the fire, drifting up toward the square of stars framed by the courtyard walls. The wood pops softly, hiss, releasing a puff of fragrant smoke. This fire is the same fire that has warmed travelers since the dawn of time. It is a circle of safety in the vastness of the night. Someone offers you a cup of tea. It is served in a small fluted glass. The tea is dark and hot, smelling of cardamom and wild roses. As you hold the glass, the warmth seeps into your palms, grounding you. You take a slow sip, and the heat spreads through your body, loosening the last bits of tension in your shoulders and back. As you sit by the fire, you look at the packs that were taken off the camels. They are not just bundles. They are vessels of the world's beauty. In one pack, there are bolts of silk from the Far East, so fine they feel like water running through your fingers. In another, there are jars of blue lapis lazuli from the high mountains, each stone holding a piece of the night sky within it. There are sacks of spices, turmeric, saffron, and cumin whose scents mingle with the smell of the fire to create a rich, intoxicating atmosphere. These things have traveled thousands of miles. They have seen the sunrise over the Indus and the sunset over the Mediterranean. They carry the stillness of the road within them. Just thinking about their long, slow journey makes your own eyes feel heavy. Everything in this world is moving toward a destination, but tonight, the destination is simply rest. You lie back on your rug and look up, because the walls of the caravanserai are high. The sky above looks like a precious jewel box. The stars are so bright and so many that they seem to hum with a silent light. The Persians were the masters of the stars. They knew the names of the constellations and used them as a map to navigate the pathless sands. You see the Great Bear, the Hunter, and the long, shimmering path of the Milky Way. To the ancient traveler, these stars were not cold and distant. They were companions. They were the immortals who watched over the road while the world slept. As you gaze at the stars, you feel your consciousness expanding. You are no longer just a person in a room. You are a part of this vast, ancient landscape. You are a part of the caravan, a part of the road, and a part of the sky. The boundaries of your body feel soft and blurred, like the edges of a cloud. The fire has burned down to a pile of glowing embers, a deep, pulsing red. The travelers have all retreated to their alcoves. The only sound now is the occasional shifting of a camel in the stables, and the very faint whistle of the wind as it passes over the high walls of the Caravanserai. It is a silence that has a physical weight to it, a kind, protective weight. It presses down on your eyelids, making it impossible to keep them open. It settles over your chest, making your breathing slow and deep. Imagine the road outside the walls. It is still there, stretching out across the desert under the moon. But it is resting, too. The dust has settled. The wind is a sigh. The world is waiting for the sun, but the sun is a long, long way off. You are safe here. These walls have held travelers for generations, and they will hold you tonight. There is nothing you need to do. There is nowhere you need to go. The journey of the day is over, and the journey of the dream is about to begin as you drift off. The faint sound of a single camel bell reaches your ears from the stables. Chime. It is a soft, final note, a signal that all is well. The animals are asleep. The road is quiet. The stars are in their places. The rhythm of the caravan is now the rhythm of your sleep. The slow, swaying motion. The steady, heartbeat pulse. The cool, silver light. You are falling into the heart of ancient Persia, into the deep, timeless peace of the royal road. Feel yourself sinking deeper into the rug, deeper into the stone, deeper into the dream. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast stone terrace at dusk. This is the heart of the empire, where the mountains meet the sky. The power here doesn't scream. It whispers through the scale of the stone and the perfection of the geometry. The great king is not a figure of chaos, but the guardian of Ushadha, cosmic order. His palace is built to reflect this. Every column is perfectly aligned with the next. Every stone is carved with a precision that speaks of endless patience. As you walk through these halls, in your mind, notice the silence. It is a heavy, velvet silence that makes your own breathing feel loud. The walls are decorated with carvings of the immortals, the royal guards. They stand in long, silent rows, their spears held upright, their faces serene. They aren't there to threaten. They are there to ensure that the peace is never broken. They are part of the architecture itself, as unmoving and as reliable as the pillars that hold up the cedar roof. Imagine a great hall, the Apadana, illuminated by the soft glow of 1,000 oil lamps. The scent of sandalwood and myrrh hangs in the air, thick and sweet. At the far end of the hall, the king sits upon a throne of gold and ivory. But notice the distance. There is a sense of space around the king, a sacred circle of quiet. When a visitor approaches, they do not rush. They walk with slow, measured steps across the polished floor. Each footstep is a soft tap that echoes in the high rafters. The king listens. That is his primary power, the power of listening. He does not interrupt. He sits with his hands resting calmly on the arms of his throne, his eyes steady and kind. To him, the troubles of a farmer in Egypt or a merchant in Lydia are threads in a vast tapestry that he must keep smooth. The ceremony is a dance of respect. A linen cloth is held before the king's mouth so that his breath does not tarnish the air he shares with his guests. It is a gesture of purity and boundary. When he speaks, his voice is low and resonant, like the sound of a distant bell. He gives his word, and that word becomes law not because of force, but because the word is seen as the truth, deep within the palace, away from the grand halls. There is a room filled with the smell of damp clay and old parchment. This is the scriptorium. Here, the administration of the world is carried out with the stroke of a reed. Imagine a scribe named Darius. He sits on a low stool, a stack of soft clay tablets beside him. His world is one of minute detail. He is transcribing a royal decree that will travel thousands of miles. His hand is steady, his mind focused. Press, tilt, lift. The cuneiform marks appear in the clay, like the tracks of birds in the sand. There is a profound peace in this repetition. Darius isn't thinking about the empires he is managing. He is thinking about the texture of the clay, the sharpness of his stylus, and the rhythm of his own breathing. Every tablet he completes is wrapped in a clay envelope and sealed with the king's signet, a cylinder carved with the image of a hero wrestling a winged lion. This seal is the king's presence in a distant land. It represents a promise of protection and a guarantee of order. As you drift toward sleep, imagine the thousands of these tablets, sitting quietly on shelves, holding the world together with their silent, baked words. Outside the palace walls, the royal road begins its long journey across the plateau. We have seen this road before, but tonight, look at it as the nervous system of the empire. The king is often called the king of kings, but he is also a king who sees. He has eyes and ears, trusted officials who travel the roads in silence. They don't wear uniforms. They look like any other traveler. They sit by campfires and listen to the stories of the people. They feel the pulse of the provinces. Think of a messenger riding through the night. The moon is a silver coin above the Zagros mountains. The only sound is the rhythmic drum of his horse's hooves on the hard-packed earth. He carries a leather satchel containing the king's letters. Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. These words were first written about these very men. There is something deeply comforting about this persistence. Somewhere, out in the vast darkness of the ancient world, a man is riding for you. He is ensuring that the laws are kept, that the grain is moving, and that the peace is maintained. His journey is a constant, steady heartbeat that never stops. The empire is divided into 20 provinces, or satraps. Each satrap is a king in his own right, but he rules with the spirit of the great king. Imagine the palace of a satrap in a distant valley. It is a smaller version of Persepolis, built with the same love for gardens and water. The satrap spends his afternoon walking through his paradise. He isn't reviewing troops. He is checking the irrigation channels. He knows that a well-watered field is the best defense against chaos. He watches the water flow through the stone conduits gurgle, splash, hiss, and he feels a sense of accomplishment. This is the administration of life. The laws of the king are like these water channels. They provide a path for life to flow smoothly, preventing the floods of greed and the droughts of poverty. The satrap sits under a pomegranate tree and reads a report from a local village. A bridge has been repaired. A new well has been dug. A dispute over a boundary has been settled with a simple, fair word. These are the small victories of the empire. They are quiet, domestic, and eternal. The Persians had a word for the law, data. It was a law that applied to everyone, from the highest noble to the simplest shepherd. It was based on the idea that the world works best when it follows its natural path. Imagine a judge sitting under a great plane tree in a village square. He doesn't carry a sword. He carries a scroll. He listens to two neighbors who are arguing over the ownership of a goat. He doesn't shout. He asks questions. He looks at the marks in the dust. He finds the point of balance where both men feel seen and heard. This is the king's law. It is a heavy, golden cloak that protects the weak. It is the reason why a woman can travel alone from the Indus to the Nile with a bag of gold and feel no fear. The law is not a cage. It is a path. It provides the structure that allows everyone to sleep soundly at night, knowing that their world will be the same when they wake up once a year. During the spring equinox, the tribute arrives at the great king's gate. But imagine it not as a tax, but as a gift-giving ceremony. The air is filled with the scent of wild tulips. From every corner of the world, people bring the best of what their land produces. The Phoenicians bring purple cloth and cedar wood. The Indians bring gold dust and swift hunting dogs. The Armenians bring sturdy horses and fine wine. They walk up the great staircase of Persepolis, their colorful robes creating a moving rainbow against the cream-colored stone. There is no urgency. There is no competition. Each group is proud of what they have to offer. They are contributing to a shared civilization, a shared peace. The king receives these gifts with a nod of gratitude. He knows that his strength comes from the diversity of his people. He doesn't want them to be like him. He wants them to be the best versions of themselves. This is the secret of the Achaemenid peace. It is a harmony of many different voices, all singing the same quiet song of order as the sun sets over the empire. The administrative machinery doesn't stop, but it becomes quieter. In the archives the lamps are extinguished, leaving only the scent of warm oil and baked clay. In the stables of the royal road, the horses are fed and groomed. their rhythmic chewing a peaceful sound in the dark. In the palaces of the satraps, the scrolls are rolled up and placed in their jars. The king himself walks out onto his balcony. He looks out over the vast, dark landscape of his empire. He sees the thousands of tiny campfires, each one representing a home kept safe by his laws. He feels the weight of his crown, but it is a familiar, grounding weight. He is the shepherd of the night. His authority is the walls of the city, the depth of the well, and the straightness of the road. Because he is awake and watching, the world can sleep. You are under that same protection tonight. The ancient laws of rest are now in effect. The administration of your body is taking over. Your heart is beating with the steady rhythm of a royal messenger. Your lungs are expanding and contracting like the slow sway of the palace curtains. Your mind is like the king's archives. The events of the day are being sorted, filed, and put away in the quiet dark. The stone columns of the ancient halls are standing guard around your bed. The silver water of the Persian gardens is flowing through your dreams, washing away all effort, all tension, all noise. The empire of the day has ended. The empire of the night has begun. Feel yourself becoming as heavy and as permanent as the limestone of the Zagros Mountains. Feel your thoughts becoming as light as the smoke from a sandalwood fire. The king is on his throne. The messengers are on the road. The laws are written in the stars. Everything is in its right place. Everything is in balance. Everything is at peace. Go now into the deep, orderly dream of the ancient world. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Imagine walking through the high, arched corridors of Susa, one of the great capitals of the empire. It is late afternoon, and the intense heat of the day is beginning to soften into a warm, honey-colored light. The walls are made of glazed bricks, vibrant blues, deep yellows, and earthy reds showing figures of lions and flowers that seem to glow in the fading sun. The floor beneath your feet is polished limestone, cool and smooth. As you walk, the only sound is the soft rustle of your own robes. There is no shouting here, no frantic running. The administration of the empire moves with the deliberate pace of a deep river in the inner courts. The air is still and smells of cedarwood and rosewater. You see a group of officials standing together. They are dressed in long, pleated robes of fine wool and silk. They speak in low, melodic whispers, their gestures slow and dignified. To these men, the management of a kingdom is a sacred duty, a form of maintenance that requires a steady hand and a quiet mind. They are the weavers of order, ensuring that the threads of the law remain strong from the banks of the Nile to the peaks of the Hindu Kush. Let's step into a side room, where the light of the sun falls in long, slanted beams across a wooden table. Here sits a royal scribe. His life is measured in the rhythmic movement of his hands and the steady pressure of his stylus against the clay. In front of him are dozens of small damp clay tablets. This is the Persepolis fortification archive. But for him, it is simply the day's work. He is recording the distribution of grain to a group of traveling artisans. He doesn't hurry. He takes a lump of clay, rolls it into a smooth rectangle, and then, with a reed stylus, begins to press the wedge-shaped cuneiform marks into the surface. Press, tilt, lift, press, tilt, lift. The sound is a tiny, rhythmic tack, dash, tack, dash, tack. It is a grounding sound, like the ticking of a slow, ancient clock. He works with a sense of profound peace. He knows that his work is essential. These small tablets are the memory of the empire. They ensure that everyone is fed, that no one is forgotten, and that the balance of the land is maintained. When the tablet is finished, he breathes on it gently and sets it aside to dry in the sun. The scent of the damp earth is rich and comforting. As you watch him, feel the same sense of focus in your own mind. Like the scribe, you can let go of the big, overwhelming thoughts and focus only on the small, rhythmic movements of your breath. Outside the palace walls, the sun has finally set, and the first stars are appearing over the desert. On the royal road, A lone rider is preparing for his journey. He is a royal messenger, one of the king's couriers. He checks the cinch of his horse's saddle. The horse is a small, sturdy breed from the Nysian plains, its coat the color of charcoal in the twilight. The animal breathes out a cloud of white mist into the cool air, a soft, resonant whoosh. The messenger carries a leather pouch sealed with the king's signet. Inside is a letter, not a declaration of war, but a letter of instruction to a local judge regarding the fair use of a mountain spring. The rider mounts his horse in one fluid motion. He doesn't spur the horse to a gallop. Instead, they fall into a steady, tireless trot. Clip-clop, clip-clop, clip-clop. The rhythm is hypnotic. The rider settles into the saddle, his body moving in perfect sync with the horse. He knows the road ahead. Every few miles, there is a way station with a fresh horse and a warm meal waiting for him. He is a part of a chain of light and information that never breaks. As he rides under the vast, silver canopy of the Milky Way, he feels a sense of quiet pride. He is the connection between the center and the edge. He is the proof that the king cares for even the furthest corners of the land. The sound of the hooves on the dry earth is a lullaby that carries across the empty plains, a signal to all who hear it that the empire is awake and the world is safe. Let's return to the palace, to the great audience hall. The night has fully fallen now, and the hall is lit by tall, bronze lamps filled with fragrant oil. The light is soft and golden, reflecting off the polished dark stone of the floor. The great king is seated on his throne, but look at him closely. He is not a figure of terrifying power. He sits with a calm, relaxed posture. His beard is perfectly curled, and his crown is a simple, elegant band of gold. In his hand, he holds a long, slender staff, not a weapon, but a symbol of his role as the shepherd of his people. A group of travelers from a distant province has come to seek his counsel. They bow low, but when they rise, the king greets them with a steady, attentive gaze. He listens as they describe a dispute over a boundary between two villages. He doesn't rush to judgment. He asks questions in a low, soothing voice. His authority comes from his stillness. He represents the unmoving center of a turning world. To be in his presence is to feel that everything has a solution, that order can always be restored. When he finally speaks, his words are measured and fair. The travelers leave the hall not with fear, but with a sense of profound relief. The weight they were carrying has been lifted by the king's calm. Imagine that same calm settling over you now. The great king of your own mind is seated on a throne of peace. All the disputes of your day, all the boundary lines of your worries, are being settled with a single, quiet word. There is no need for urgency. There is only the law of rest. In a quiet wing of the palace, there is a library of scrolls and tablets that serves as the registry of the earth. Here, the empire keeps track of the trees, the rivers, and the mountains. The Persians believed that a king's duty was to make the earth more beautiful. They kept records of newly planted orchards and the flow of the underground qanats. Imagine a scroll being unrolled on a long wooden table. It is a map of a new garden being built in a dry valley. The ink is dark and rich, made from the soot of lamps. The scribe's pen moves with a soft scratch across the parchment. He draws the lines of the water channels, the circles of the pomegranate trees, and the rectangles of the rose beds. This is administration as gardening. To rule is to plant. To rule is to nurture. The empire is seen as a vast garden, and the laws are the water that keeps it green. As you drift toward sleep, imagine your own life as a garden that is being carefully tended. The administrators of your dreams are planting thoughts of peace and watering them with the stillness of the night. In the ancient Persian world, a man's seal was his honor. Every official, every merchant, and the king himself carried a small, cylindrical stone carved with intricate images. Imagine holding one of these seals in your hand. It is made of blue lapis lazuli, cool and heavy. It is carved with the image of a hero standing between two winged bulls, holding back the forces of chaos with his bare hands. When a document is finished, the seal is rolled across the wet clay, leaving a perfect, raised impression. This is the seal of truth. It means that the words on the tablet are exactly what they claim to be. There is no deception here. In a world built on truth, there is a great sense of security. You don't have to look behind you. You don't have to second-guess the motives of others. The administration of the empire is transparent and steady. Let your own mind become as clear and as solid as that lapis lazuli seal. Let your intentions be rolled out across the clay of your dreams, leaving an impression of honesty and peace. You can trust the world tonight. You can trust the silence. Time in the palace moves differently than it does in the world outside. It is measured not by the sun, but by the slow, steady fall of sand in a glass, or the rhythmic dripping of a water clock. Drip, drip, drip. The sound is a constant reminder that the empire is eternal, that one moment follows another in perfect order. The officials in the palace move according to this clock. There is a time for the morning greeting, a time for the reading of the letters, a time for the afternoon walk in the gardens, and a time for the evening silence. This structure is a comfort. It removes the need for decision-making. You simply follow the path that has been laid out for you. Imagine the sand falling in the royal hourglass. Each grain is a moment of peace. Each grain is a breath. The glass is large, and the sand falls slowly, creating a soft, whispering sound. She dash, she dash, she. As you watch the sand in your mind, let your own sense of time dissolve. There is no before and no after. There is only this grain of sand, and this one, and this one. As the night deepens, the administration of the empire transitions into its most quiet phase. The scribes have put away their the king has retired to his private chambers. The messengers are asleep in their way stations. The guards on the walls of Persepolis stand in their appointed places. They don't pace back and forth. They stand as still as the columns behind them. They look out over the dark plains, watching the distant fires of the nomadic camps. They are the keepers of the silence. Their presence ensures that the sleep of the millions is never disturbed. Because they are standing guard, the farmers can dream of the harvest, the weavers can dream of their patterns, and the children can sleep without fear. You are under that same watch tonight. The ancient authority of the night has taken over. The laws of the stars are in effect. Your body is a kingdom that is being perfectly managed while the silver silence of Persepolis. Imagine, we are standing at the base of the great terrace of Persepolis. It is the middle of the night. The sun has been gone for many hours, and the massive limestone blocks have finally surrendered the heat of the day. They are now cool to the touch, smooth as silk, and solid as the mountain behind them. The moon is a bright silver coin hanging directly above the hall of 100 columns. Its light is so clear that you can see the tiny veins in the stone, and the delicate carvings of lotus flowers on the base of the pillars. Everything is monochromatic shades of deep charcoal, slate gray, and shimmering silver dot. We walk slowly up the great staircase. Notice how shallow the steps are. They were made so that no one would ever have to rush. Each step is a pause. Step, pause, breathe. The air here is thin and crisp, tasting of the high mountain snows and the dry, sweet scent of parched earth. As we reach the top of the terrace, the vastness of the city unfolds before us. The columns of the Apadana rise like a forest of stone trees, their shadows stretching long and thin across the polished floors. There is no wind here, only a stillness so profound that you can almost hear the stars humming in the sky. You find a spot to sit against the base of a great fluted column. The stone is a supportive, unyielding presence against your back. You look out over the plain of Marvdasht, which lies below the terrace like a sea of silver mist. In the distance, the mountains of the Zagros are jagged silhouettes against a sky that isn't black, but a deep, translucent violet. Time feels suspended. The city isn't a ruin here. It is alive, but it is resting. The great cedar beams of the roofs are silent. The silk curtains in the royal chambers are unmoving. The world is holding its breath, and you are part of that stillness. You feel your own heart rate slowing to match the rhythm of the stone, the breath of the mud brick village. We leave the grand heights of the palace and travel softly through the night toward a small village, nestled in a fold of the hills. The village is made of the earth itself. The houses are built of thick mud bricks, smoothed by hand and baked by centuries of sun. At night, these walls are wonderful guardians. They hold on to the warmth of the day, releasing it slowly into the rooms where the families sleep. The streets are narrow and winding, dust paths that have been trodden by generations of feet. As we walk through the village, the only sound is the occasional, rhythmic clink-clink of a tethered goat's bell or the soft sigh of a sleeping horse. Every house is silent. Behind the thick wooden doors, the people of the empire are in a state of deep, undisturbed rest. They sleep on thick woolen rugs, their heads resting on bolsters stuffed with raw silk. The air in the village smells of wood smoke that has long since died down, mixed with the earthy scent of the garden walls and the faint, herbal tang of wild rue. We pass a small courtyard where a pomegranate tree stands. In the moonlight, its leathery leaves look like silver coins, and the heavy fruit hangs like dark jewels. A single drop of dew falls from a leaf and hits the ground with a sound that, in this silence, feels as significant as a bell. Drip. The village is a place of total safety. There are no locks needed here, for the night itself is the protector. The order of the empire, the Ushas felt, even in the way the dust lies still in the street. You feel a sense of profound belonging. This is how the world was meant to be. Quiet, grounded, and at peace with the dark. The stars over the salt desert now. Let your mind drift further east, away from the hills and into the vast, open stretches of the great salt desert, the Dashti Kavir. Here, the horizon is a perfect circle. There are no trees, no buildings, no mountains to break the view. There is only the earth and the sky. The ground is a crust of silver salt that crackles softly under the cooling night air. It looks like a landscape of snow, but it is warm and ancient. Look up, away from the lights of the village and the palace. The sky becomes a revelation. The stars are not just points of light, they are lanterns. The Milky Way is a river of spilled light, a path of celestial dust that stretches from one end of the world to the other. The ancient Persians they saw the stars as a great army of light, maintaining the balance of the universe. To look at this sky is to understand infinity, but it is not a cold infinity. It is a shimmering, beautiful vastness that makes your own worries feel as small as a single grain of sand. The wind begins to rise, just a little. It is a soft, rhythmic wind that moves across the salt flats, with a sound like a silk garment being drawn across a floor. Shh. Shh. It carries nothing but the scent of space. Imagine yourself lying down on a thick rug in the middle of this desert. You are wrapped in a heavy cloak of undyed wool. The ground beneath you is solid and unmoving. You are looking straight up into the heart of the galaxy. The stars seem to pulse in time with your breathing. Inhale. The stars brighten. Exhale. The stars soften. You are floating in a sea of indigo. The desert is a cradle, and the sky is a blanket. There is nothing to do, nothing to think about, nothing to be but a witness to the light. The wind through the high passes. We travel now to the high places, the mountain passes of the Alborz. Here, the night is colder, and the air is as sharp and clear as a diamond. The road through the pass is a narrow thread of stone, winding between towering cliffs of granite. In the moonlight, the rocks look like the bones of the earth. There is a small watchtower here, built into the side of the cliff. The soldier inside is not pacing. He is sitting by a small, glowing brazier, his eyes fixed on the distant valley. He is a part of the silence, a silent guardian of the pass. The wind here has a voice. It whistles through the narrow clefts in the rock, creating a low, flute-like note. It is a haunting, beautiful sound that has been playing for millions of years. It tells the story of the ice and the sun, of the eagles and the clouds. Below the pass, a small mountain stream is tumbling over the rocks. Because it is night, the water sounds louder, a constant, churning melody of rush and splash. The water is black and silver, moving with an urgency that only emphasizes the stillness of the stone around it. You feel the coolness of the mountain air on your skin, but you are warm in your thoughts. You are high above the world, closer to the moon, held in the rugged embrace of the peaks. The mountains don't care about time. They have seen empires rise and fall like the passing of a single night. To them, you are a cherished guest, a brief spark of life in their eternal stone dream, the house of the sacred flame. We return to the edge of a quiet town, to a building with a rounded dome that catches the moonlight. This is a fire temple, a place of the spirit. We step inside. The transition from the silver moonlight to the interior is soft. The room is dark, except for a single, low glow, coming from a large bronze urn in the center. This is the sacred fire, the edge. At night, the fire is kept low. It doesn't leap or roar. It is a bed of glowing embers, a deep, pulsing pomegranate red. The light it casts is warm and flickering, painting the stone walls with shadows that move like slow-motion dancers. The scent is wonderful. It is the scent of burning sandalwood and dried frankincense, a smell that is heavy, sweet, and grounding. It fills your lungs and relaxes your mind in the silence of the temple. The only sound is the occasional, delicate click of a cooling ember. There is a priest sitting in the shadows, his white robes barely visible. He is meditating, his breathing so slow that it is almost imperceptible. This room is the heart of the Empire's peace. It is the belief that light will always return, that truth is the foundation of the world, and that every soul has a spark of this eternal fire within it. You feel that spark now. It is a warm, golden point of light in the center of your chest. It is your peace. It is your safety. As the embers in the urn pulse, your own inner light pulses with them. Glow, fade, glow, fade. The suspension of time. The night in Persia is now at its deepest point. The moon has begun its slow descent toward the western horizon. The shadows are at their longest. Imagine the entire empire, from the Indus River to the Aegean Sea, held in this state of suspended time. The thousands of miles of royal roads are empty. The great stone lions of the palaces are watching the stars. The farmers are dreaming of the green shoots of barley. The queens are dreaming of gardens of roses. The world is a tapestry of silver and indigo, woven together by the threads of the wind and the light of the moon. You are sinking deeper into this tapestry. The boundaries of your room have faded away. You are no longer in the modern world. You are a traveler in the ancient night, and you have finally found your place of rest. The weight of your body is the weight of the limestone. The flow of your breath is the wind through the pass. The peace in your heart is the glow of the sacred fire. The darkness is not empty. It is full. It is full of history, full of dreams, and full of the quiet presence of the earth. You are being held. You are being protected. The stars are whispering to you now. They are saying that the world is in order. They are saying that you have done enough. They are saying that it is time to let go. Imagine we are standing once again upon the mountain of mercy, looking down at the terrace of Persepolis. But the moon is higher now, and the silence is even deeper than before. The empire has finished its long day of work. The kings have retired to their stone chambers, and the messengers have finally laid down their saddles. The ruins below us are not sad. They do not feel like a loss. Instead, they look like a city that has finally found its true form, a city made of moonlight and shadow, perfectly integrated back into the mountain from which it was carved. The stone columns reach up like pale, frozen fingers, trying to touch the stars. They are no longer supporting heavy roofs of cedar. They are supporting the sky itself. As we walk slowly along the ridge, the wind whispers through the dry grass. It is a soft, rhythmic sound. Hush, hush, it is the sound of the earth breathing. This mountain has watched over the plateau for millions of years. It saw the first nomadic fires. It saw the building of the great palaces, and it sees us now. To the mountain, all of human history is like a single, beautiful summer afternoon. And now, the evening has come. Feel the stability of the rock beneath you. It is unmoving. It is certain. As you drift closer to sleep, let your own mind become like the mountain, broad, silent, and at peace with the passage of time. The things that seem so urgent during the day are just dust on the wind. Here, in the shadow of the mountain, there is only the vastness of the night. The great stone walls are beautiful, but the true legacy of ancient Persia is something much softer. It is the memory of the gardens. Imagine a single rose bush growing near a half-collapsed stone archway in a hidden valley. This rose is a descendant of the flowers that Cyrus himself might have smelled. Its scent is not loud or demanding. It is a faint, sweet ghost of a perfume that only appears when the dew begins to settle. The Persians taught the world how to love a garden. They taught us that a paradise is simply a place where the water flows. The trees provide shade, and the soul can be quiet. As you lie in your bed, imagine you are resting in that ancient garden. The walls are made of cool mud brick, and they keep out the wind. The only sound is the rhythmic drip, drip, drip of a small fountain. The rose doesn't try to bloom forever. It knows the rhythm of the seasons. It is content to be a bud, then a flower, and then to let its petals fall softly onto the dark earth. There is no urgency in its growth. It simply is. You can be like that rose tonight. You have bloomed through your day, and now it is time to let your petals fall. It is time to return to the earth, to the softness of the bed, and to the dark, fertile world of dreams. Let's travel one last time to the tomb of Cyrus the Great. It stands alone in the center of a wide, grassy plain, a simple house of stone on a tiered base. There are no carvings of battles here. There are no lists of conquered nations. It is just a monument to a man who wanted the world to be at peace. The stars above Pasargadae are incredibly bright. Because the air is so dry and the night is so dark, the stars look like they are hanging just out of reach. They are the same stars that the ancient astronomers watched from the tops of their towers. They haven't moved. They haven't changed. The stars are the ultimate administration of the universe. They keep the time that doesn't belong to men. As you look at them in your mind, feel the immense scale of the cosmos. It is a scale that brings comfort, for it reminds us that we are part of a great, orderly design. The silence of the plain is total. The wind has died down. The grasses are still. The stone of the tomb is silver in the starlight. Everything is resting. The legacy of the empire is not in the gold that was stored, but in the silence that remains. It is a dignified silence. It is the silence of a job well done, of a long life lived with truth, and of a world that was left a little more beautiful than it was found. In the quiet of your room, listen to your own breath, inhale and exhale. This is the same breath that moved through the halls of Susa. It is the same air that cooled the brows of the weavers in the villages. History is not something that is trapped in books or locked behind museum glass. History is a living thing. It is the air we breathe. It is the way we seek the light. It is the way we value the truth. The empire of the Persians didn't disappear. It just changed its state. It became the poetry of the later ages. It became the geometry of the gardens. It became the quiet dignity of the people who still live upon the plateau. It became a part of the way we understand the world. Imagine all those centuries of life, all the laughter, the quiet conversations by the fire, the clinking of camel bells, the scratching of scribes. All of it has settled into the dust like a heavy mist. It is still there, holding the heat of the past. It is a warm, golden layer of time that you are resting upon. You are not alone in your sleep. You are supported by the rest of millions of people who have gone before you. We are walking back now, through the gate of all nations. The great stone bulls are still there, their wings shimmering in the final hour of the night. We pass between them, leaving the terrace and descending the wide, shallow stairs. With every step down, the ancient world becomes a little softer, a little more blurred. The columns are fading into the violet sky. The scent of the sandalwood is being replaced by the scent of the cool night air. We reach the bottom of the stairs and turn back to look one last time. Persepolis is now just a silhouette against the stars. It looks like a crown resting on the head of the mountain. It is a beautiful, peaceful image. It is a world at rest. We whisper a final thank you to the land of Persia. Thank you for the water and the gardens. Thank you for the roads and the stars. Thank you for the light and the truth. The journey is over. The storyteller is growing quiet. Your room is perfectly dark. Your body is perfectly heavy. The ancient world has given you its greatest gift, the gift of its silence. The mountains are watching over you. The water is singing you a lullaby. The stars are guiding your spirit. Imagine the silver light of the Persian moon slowly fading, turning into the soft, warm darkness of a deep, dreamless sleep. There are no more images. There are no more words. There is only the feeling of being completely safe, completely held, and completely at peace. The empire is at rest. The road has reached its end. The fire has become a single, glowing ember, and now, even that ember is fading, turning to a soft gray ash, until there is only the dark, and the quiet, and the sleep. You are drifting, floating, sinking into the heart of the ancient night. Imagine we are standing once again upon the mountain of mercy, the Achaemenid, looking down at the terrace of Persepolis. But the moon is higher now, a radiant silver orb that turns the world into a landscape of silk and charcoal. The empire has finished its long day of work. The kings have retired to their stone chambers, and the messengers have finally laid down their saddles. The ruins below us are not sad. They do not feel like a loss. Instead, they look like a city that has finally found its true, most peaceful form, a city made of moonlight and shadow, perfectly integrated back into the mountain from which it was carved. The stone columns reach up like pale, frozen fingers, trying to touch the stars. They are no longer supporting heavy roofs of cedar. They are supporting the sky itself. As we walk slowly along the ridge, the wind whispers through the dry grass. It is a soft, rhythmic sound. Hush, hush, hush. It is the sound of the earth breathing in its sleep. This mountain has watched over the plateau for millions of years. It saw the first nomadic fires of the early tribes. It saw the building of the great palaces, and it sees us now, 2,000 years later. To the mountain, all of human history is like a single, beautiful summer afternoon. And now, the evening has come. Feel the stability of the rock beneath you. It is unmoving. It is certain. As you drift closer to sleep, let your own mind become like the mountain, broad, silent, and at peace with the passage of time. The things that seemed so urgent during the day are just dust on the wind. Here, in the shadow of the mountain, there is only the vastness of the night and the deep, cool breath of the stone. The great stone walls are beautiful, but the true legacy of ancient Persia is something much softer, something that cannot be broken by time. It is the memory of the gardens and the persistent flow of the water. Imagine a single rose bush growing near a half-collapsed stone archway in a hidden valley of the Zan. This rose is a descendant of the flowers that Cyrus himself might have smelled. Its scent is not loud or demanding. It is a faint, sweet ghost of a perfume that only appears when the dew begins to settle on the leaves. The Persians taught the world how to love a garden. They taught us that a paradise is simply a place where the water flows, the trees provide shade, and the soul can be quiet. Deep beneath our feet, the qanats are still there. These ancient underground tunnels, carved by hand into the dark earth, still carry the melted snow from the high peaks down to the thirsty plains. Listen to the sound of that water in the darkness. Drip, gurgle, splash. It is a liquid heartbeat. It is the same sound that the ancient farmers heard as they drifted to sleep. It is a reminder that life finds a way to continue, quietly and steadily, beneath the surface of things. You can hear that flow in your own body. Now, the steady, rhythmic movement of your blood, the slow, easy rise and fall of your lungs. You are part of that same continuity. You are a garden being watered by the stillness of the night. The rose doesn't try to bloom forever. It knows the rhythm of the seasons. It is content to be a bud, then a flower, and then to let its petals fall softly, one by one, onto the dark, fragrant earth. There is no urgency in its growth. There is no regret in its fading. It simply is. You can be like that rose tonight. You have bloomed through your day, and now it is time to let your petals fall. It is time to return to the softness of the bed, to the cool dark of the room, and to the fertile world of dreams. Let's travel one last time across the plain. To the tomb of Cyrus the Great. It stands alone in the center of a wide, grassy expanse, a simple house of stone on a tiered base. There are no carvings of battles here. There are no lists of conquered nations or gold taken in tribute. It is just a monument to a man who wanted the world to be at peace. The stars above Pasargadae are incredibly bright, because the air is so dry and the night is so dark. The stars look like they are hanging just out of reach, like lanterns suspended from a celestial ceiling. They are the same stars that the ancient astronomers watched from the tops of their towers. They haven't moved. They haven't changed. The stars are the ultimate administration of the universe. They keep the time that doesn't belong to men. They move with a precision that the Persians called Usha, the Great Order. As you look at them in your mind, feel the immense scale of the cosmos. It is a scale that brings a profound comfort, for it reminds us that we are part of a great, orderly design. The silence of the plain is total. The wind has died down to a faint sigh. The grasses are still. The stone of the tomb is silver in the starlight. Everything is resting. The legacy of the empire is not in the gold that was stored, but in the silence that remains. It is a dignified silence. It is the silence of a job well done, of a long life lived with truth, and of a world that was left a little more beautiful than it was found. As you lie there, imagine the starlight falling on your own face. It is a cold, pure light, but it feels like a blessing. It is a light that has traveled for years to reach you, just as the history of Persia has traveled through the centuries. You are the destination of that light. You are the keeper of that memory. In the quiet of your room, listen to your own breath. Inhale and exhale. This is the same breath that moved through the halls of Susa. It is the same air that cooled the brows of the weavers in the villages. History is not something that is trapped in books or locked behind museum glass. History is a living thing. It is the air we breathe. It is the way we seek the light. It is the way we value the truth and the way we find our way home in the dark. The empire of the Persians didn't disappear. It just changed its state. It became the poetry of the later ages. It became the geometry of the gardens in distant lands. It became the quiet dignity of the people who still live upon the plateau. It became a part of the way we understand the world, the idea that many different people can live together under one wide sky. Imagine all those centuries of life, all the laughter, the quiet conversations by the fire, the clinking of camel bells on the royal road, the scratching of scribes on damp clay. All of it has settled into the dust like a heavy golden mist. It is still there, holding the heat of the past. It is a warm, protective layer of time that you are resting upon. You are not alone in your sleep. You are supported by the rest of millions of people who have gone before you, who looked at the same moon and felt the same cooling of the earth. We are walking back now, through the gate of all nations, at Persepolis. The great stone bulls are still there. their wings shimmering in the final hour of the night. We pass between them, leaving the terrace and descending the wide, shallow stairs for the very last time. With every step down, the ancient world becomes a little softer, a little more blurred at the edges. The columns are fading into the violet sky. The scent of the sandalwood from the fire temples is being replaced by the scent of the cool, night air in your own room. We reach the bottom of the stairs and turn back to look one last time. Persepolis is now just a silhouette against the stars, a crown resting on the head of the mountain of mercy. It is a beautiful, peaceful image. It is a world that has completed its journey. It is a world at rest. We whisper a final thank you to the land of Persia. Thank you for the water and the gardens. Thank you for the roads and the messengers. Thank you for the light, the fire, and the truth. Thank you for showing us how to build a paradise on earth. The journey is over. The storyteller is growing quiet. Your room is perfectly dark, a soft and welcoming void. Your body is perfectly heavy, a part of the bed, a part of the earth. The ancient world has given you its greatest and final gift, the gift of its silence. The mountains of the Zagros are watching over you. The water of the Kanats is singing you a lullaby. The stars of the plateau are guiding your spirit into the dark. Imagine the silver light of the Persian moon slowly fading, turning into the soft, warm, velvet darkness of a deep, dreamless sleep. There are no more images to see. There are no more words to hear. There is only the feeling of being completely safe, completely held, and completely at peace. The empire is at rest. The royal road has reached its final destination. The sacred fire has become a single, glowing ember, and now, even that ember is fading, turning to a soft, weightless gray ash, until there is only the dark, and the quiet, and the rest. You are drifting, floating, sinking into the heart of the ancient night. The silver light is gone. The indigo is turning to black. The sounds are moving further and further away, until they are nothing but a memory. And the memory is a dream, and the dream is a deep, restorative sleep. Good night, traveler. The ancient world is at peace, and so are you.